I'm Rebecca Mitchell, 32, and last month my life changed forever when I got promoted to marketing director, requiring a move from Chicago to San Francisco. My company offered a generous $650,000 relocation bonus to ease the transition. While packing our belongings, excitement buzzing through me about our fresh start, my phone rang. It was Diana, my mother-in-law, whose relationship with me had always been strained. What she said next made my blood run cold. Before I continue this story, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Hit subscribe if you've dealt with difficult in-laws. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. Marketing has been my passion since college. After graduating with honors from Northwestern University, I landed an entry-level position at Horizon Global, a Fortune 500 company headquartered in Chicago. For 10 years, I poured my heart and soul into that company, working late nights, leading successful campaigns, and slowly climbing the corporate ladder. My dedication didn't go unnoticed. My husband Thomas, Tom to friends and family, always supported my career ambitions. We met at a coffee shop near the Horizon office building 7 years ago. He was finishing his architectural degree, sketching building designs while I was preparing a presentation. We struck up a conversation about Chicago's iconic skyline, and the rest was history. 2 years later, we married in a beautiful ceremony by Lake Michigan. Tom eventually joined Anderson and Partners, a well-respected architectural firm, where he quickly made a name for himself designing sustainable commercial spaces. Our life together was comfortable. We owned a charming brownstone in Lincoln Park, enjoyed weekend trips to Michigan's wine country, and had built a solid group of friends. Though we both worked hard, we always made time for each other. Friday night was sacred. Dinner at our favorite local restaurant followed by walks along the lakeshore, discussing our weeks and dreams for the future. Then came the day that would change everything. My boss called me into her office on a Tuesday afternoon. "Rebecca, I'll get right to the point. The marketing director position in our San Francisco office is opening up, and your name is at the top of the list. It's a significant step up, larger team, bigger budget, and, honestly, the perfect showcase for your talents. The board has already approved the offer." I sat stunned as she pushed a folder across her desk. Inside was a formal offer letter outlining my new responsibilities, a 40% salary increase, and the relocation package. $650,000 to cover all moving expenses, temporary housing, and assistance selling our Chicago home. The amount was staggering. Was all I could manage. Take a few days to discuss it with Tom. But Rebecca, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. That evening, I presented the offer to Tom over a bottle of wine at our dining table. His face lit up with each detail I shared. "San Francisco? Becca, this is incredible. I've always wanted to work with some of the innovative firms out there. Anderson has a sister office in Oakland I could potentially transfer to." His enthusiasm was palpable as he examined the offer letter. "And this relocation package is beyond generous. We could actually buy something decent there with this kind of assistance." The San Francisco housing market was notoriously expensive, making the relocation money essential. The company understood this, which explained the substantial amount. The funds would be deposited into a special relocation account from which we could draw to pay for approved expenses, selling our Chicago home, moving costs, temporary housing, and, most importantly, a down payment on a San Francisco property. We spent the weekend researching neighborhoods, schools, and the lifestyle change ahead. By Monday, my decision was made. I signed the offer letter, setting our new life in motion. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. The company assigned us a relocation specialist named Melissa who guided us through the process. The HR department transferred the funds to a specially designated relocation account that both Tom and I could access. The money appeared in our account within days, $650,000 that would bridge our transition from one life to another. Melissa arranged a house hunting trip to San Francisco, booking us flights and a hotel in the Marina District. We spent 3 intensive days with a realtor named Patrick, viewing properties in various neighborhoods. The market here moves fast, Patrick warned. When you see something you love, be prepared to act quickly. On our final day, we found it, a beautiful 3-bedroom Edwardian in No Valley, with views of the city's skyline. Though significantly more expensive than our Chicago home, with the relocation package and my salary increase, it was within reach. We made an offer before flying back to Chicago. That's when the first signs of trouble appeared. When we shared our exciting news with Tom's parents over Sunday dinner at their suburban home, Diana's reaction was unexpectedly cold. San Francisco? That's on the other side of the country. Why would you want to move so far away from family? She asked, her fork paused midway to her mouth. Mom, it's not even halfway across the country, Tom corrected gently. And it's an amazing opportunity for Becca. I suppose your career comes first, she said, looking directly at me. Even before family. Tom's father Martin intervened. Diana, be reasonable. This is wonderful news. Congratulations, Rebecca. We're proud of you. Diana remained silent for the rest of the meal, but her disapproval hung heavy in the air. As we prepared to leave, she pulled Tom aside for a private conversation that left him visibly uncomfortable during our drive home. She's just worried about us being so far away, he explained, though his tone lacked conviction. 2 weeks later, our offer on the San Francisco house was accepted. We listed our Chicago property, which sold within days in the hot market. Everything was falling into place. The moving company was scheduled, our Chicago home was being packed, and our new life was taking shape. Then, just 3 days before our planned departure, I logged into our relocation account to pay the moving company's deposit. My stomach dropped as I stared at the screen. The balance, which should have shown well over $600,000, displayed just $1,278.43. To understand the shock of that moment, you need to know about my history with Diana. From the day Tom introduced me as his girlfriend, Diana made it clear that no woman would ever be good enough for her son, especially not me. Diana Patterson was the quintessential suburban matriarch. She maintained a perfect home in Evanston, hosted elaborate dinner parties, and held firm opinions about how others should live their lives. Her husband Martin, a successful cardiologist, generally deferred to her in most family matters, finding it easier to maintain peace than challenge her. The Patterson family included Tom and his younger sister Stephanie. While Tom had inherited his father's quiet intelligence and work ethic, Stephanie mirrored her mother's flair for drama and entitled attitude. At 30, Stephanie still lived at home, working part-time at a boutique and relying on her parents for financial support. Diana saw nothing wrong with this arrangement, often praising Stephanie for staying close to family. My first dinner at the Patterson home remained vivid in my memory. Diana had prepared an elaborate meal, during which she peppered me with questions about my family background. My parents were divorced, my father remarried, and living in Florida, my mother a high school teacher in Indiana. With each answer, Diana's smile grew tighter. Well, she said finally, not everyone comes from stable families. It's not your fault, dear. Throughout our relationship, Diana found subtle ways to undermine me. When Tom and I announced our engagement, she immediately lamented that the timing was inconvenient, as she'd been planning a European trip that would conflict with any reasonable wedding date. When we set the date anyway, she criticized every decision, from the venue to my dress. I just want to make sure you don't embarrass yourself, dear, she would say. Stephanie would have chosen something more elegant. The wedding itself became a battlefield. Diana insisted on inviting distant relatives and business associates we'd never met, attempted to change our menu selections without consulting us, and even tried to convince Tom that my choice of wedding party was inappropriate. It took Tom finally putting his foot down to salvage our special day. My mother means well was Tom's constant refrain. She's just protective. After we married, Diana's interference continued. She would drop by our home unannounced, offering unsolicited advice about everything from how I organized my kitchen to how I should style my hair. She gave Tom expensive gifts, but presented me with oddly impersonal items, like generic bath sets or kitchen gadgets I'd never use. "I thought you might need help with your cooking," she would say, though I was actually an accomplished cook. Family gatherings were exercises in patience. Diana would position Tom and Stephanie together in conversations, photos, and seating arrangements, often physically and conversationally excluding me. She told childhood stories that highlighted private jokes I couldn't share, planned activities around interests I didn't have, and served dishes with ingredients she knew I didn't care for. My friends noticed. My best friend Lauren warned me after meeting Diana at our housewarming party. "That woman is plotting your demise," she half-joked. "Watch your back." I tried. For Tom's sake, I maintained a polite demeanor, ignored the barbs, and attempted to build a relationship with his mother. I invited her to lunch, asked her advice when appropriate, and acknowledged family traditions. Nothing worked. To Diana, I remained the woman who had stolen her son. Tom struggled with his mother's behavior. Though he occasionally defended me, he more often tried to minimize the conflict, interpreting her actions in the most charitable light possible. Family dynamics established in childhood are difficult to break, and Tom had been conditioned to accommodate his mother's controlling nature. "Just ignore her when she gets like that," he would advise after particularly tense interactions. That's what Dad and I do. But ignoring Diana wasn't always possible, especially when she escalated her interference. When Tom and I discussed starting a family, Diana began sending me articles about career women making poor mothers. When we mentioned buying a vacation cabin, she warned Tom about my financially irresponsible background, citing my student loans as evidence. The promotion and relocation to San Francisco represented freedom from Diana's constant presence, which perhaps explained her immediate opposition. The day after we told his parents, Diana called Tom repeatedly, sending him links to articles about crime in San Francisco, astronomical living costs, and earthquake risks. "Mom, we've done our research," Tom assured her. "This is happening." Diana switched tactics, suggesting that Tom could find a better position in Chicago, that moving would damage his career, that I was selfishly prioritizing my ambitions over his. When these arguments failed to gain traction, she became emotional. "I just don't understand why you want to abandon your family," she told Tom tearfully over the phone. "After everything we've done for you." As our move approached, Diana's behavior became increasingly erratic. She insisted on helping us pack, then criticized my organization system. She suggested we store valuable items at her house for safekeeping rather than transport them. She questioned the competence of our chosen moving company and the wisdom of our housing choice. Most disturbing was the discovery I made while preparing our home office for packing. I found Tom's spare key to our house missing from its drawer. When questioned, Tom admitted sheepishly that he had given it to his mother in case of emergencies. "She's had it for years," he confessed. I didn't think it was a big deal. The idea of Diana having unfettered access to our home sent chills down my spine, but with the move imminent, I focused on the future. Soon, there would be an entire continent between us and Diana's interference. Or so I thought. The relocation account balance of $1,278.43 made no sense. Just yesterday, I had checked the balance to calculate our remaining funds after the down payment on the San Francisco house. It had shown over $600,000. I refreshed the page, thinking it might be a glitch. The number remained unchanged. Heart racing, I called the bank's customer service line. "Mrs. Mitchell, I can confirm that a wire transfer was processed yesterday in the amount of $648,721.57, the representative explained after verifying my identity. The funds were transferred to an account at Pacific Western Bank. I didn't authorize any transfer, I said, my voice shaking. Can you reverse it? I'm afraid once a wire transfer is completed, we can't unilaterally reverse it. You would need to file a fraud claim, which I can help you initiate right now. While completing the fraud claim, I called Tom, who was at his office finishing his final week of work. Tom, all our relocation money is gone, I explained, trying to keep my voice steady. Someone transferred it out yesterday. We need to call the company immediately. What? That's impossible. Are you sure? Yes, I'm on the phone with the bank right now. Can you call Melissa at HR and let her know what's happening? I'll contact the police. Tom agreed, sounding stunned. I was hanging up with the bank when my phone rang again. Diana's name flashed on the screen. Something made me answer and record the call. Hello, Diana, I said cautiously. Rebecca, she replied, her voice dripping with unusual satisfaction. I wanted to call and thank you personally. Thank me for what? She laughed, a sound both triumphant and cruel. For your generosity, of course. I used your $650,000 relocation bonus to buy my daughter a beach house. You don't deserve it. The world seemed to stop. I'm sorry, what did you say? You heard me. Stephanie has always wanted a beach house in Michigan. Now she has one, thanks to you and Tom. Consider it compensation for you taking my son away to California. Her voice was smug, confident. Despite the rage and panic threatening to overwhelm me, I maintained my composure. Thanks for letting me know, I said evenly. My calm response clearly wasn't what Diana expected. There was a pause before she sputtered, That's it? You're not going to say anything else. No, Diana. That's all I needed to hear. Goodbye. I ended the call and immediately saved the recording. My hands shook as I called the police to report the theft. The officer who took my report advised me to contact the company's legal department immediately, as this involved corporate funds. Tom arrived home an hour later, his face ashen. Melissa is contacting legal and the CFO. They're taking this extremely seriously. What happened? How could someone access our account? I played him the recording of Diana's call. Tom's face transformed as he listened. Disbelief, then shock, followed by a devastation so profound it was painful to witness. When the recording ended, he sat heavily on our half-packed sofa. This can't be real, he whispered. My mother wouldn't. She couldn't. She did, Tom. She admitted it, laughed about it. She stole our relocation money to buy Stephanie a beach house. Tom shook his head, denial warring with the evidence he'd just heard. There must be some misunderstanding. Let me call her. He put his phone on speaker as Diana answered. Mom, what have you done? Tommy, what's wrong? You sound upset. Her voice was innocent, concerned. Rebecca says you took our relocation money. Tell me that's not true. What? That's ridiculous. Rebecca is making things up again. You know how dramatic she can be. I stepped forward. Diana, I recorded our earlier conversation. You admitted taking the money to buy Stephanie a beach house. There was a long silence before Diana's voice returned, now cold and defensive. You had no right to record me. And besides, that money should have stayed in the family, not spent on some ridiculous move across the country. Tom's face crumpled. So it's true? You actually stole from us. I didn't steal anything, Diana snapped. I was protecting your inheritance. That woman has been taking you away from your family for years. This move is just the final step in her plan. That woman is my wife, Tom said, his voice rising. And that money was for our future. How could you do this to us? I did it for you, Thomas. One day you'll thank me when that marriage falls apart and you still have family to come home to. Tom ended the call, his hands shaking. The look he gave me contained such pain that I instinctively moved to embrace him. He clung to me like a drowning man. I'm so sorry, he whispered against my hair. I never thought she would go this far. Never. That evening was a blur of phone calls. To the company, to the police, to our realtor in San Francisco who needed to know our down payment might be delayed. The moving company was still scheduled to arrive the next day, but now we had no idea where we would be going or how we would pay for anything. In the midst of this chaos, Tom's phone lit up with a text from Stephanie. OMG, thank you guys so much for the beach house. Mom just told me. Can't wait to show you when you visit. Love you both. Tom stared at the message, then slowly typed, Stephanie, that house was purchased with stolen money. Mom took it from our relocation fund without permission. The police are involved now. Stephanie's response came quickly. What are you talking about? Mom said it was a gift from both of you because you felt bad about moving away. She said you specifically wanted me to have it. That's not true. We knew nothing about it. The money was stolen from our account yesterday. There was a long pause before Stephanie replied. I don't believe you. Why would Mom lie about something like this? Tom didn't respond, tossing his phone aside and burying his face in his hands. In the space of a few hours, his mother had not only stolen our future, but was now turning his sister against him as well. What are we going to do? I asked quietly, sitting beside him. He looked up, a new resolve hardening his features. We're going to fight. For our money, for our future, and for the truth. I won't let her get away with this. By 8 a.m. the next morning, we were seated in a conference room at Horizon Global headquarters with an imposing group. Melissa from HR, the company's chief financial officer Gerald Walsh, the head of legal counsel Barbara Reynolds, and the company's head of security, a former FBI agent named Richard Donovan. We take this situation extremely seriously, Rebecca, Gerald began. Not only because of the substantial sum involved, but because this constitutes both theft and fraud against the company. Barbara nodded. I've reviewed the recording you provided. It's a clear admission of guilt and will be crucial evidence. The funds were company assets allocated for a specific purpose, which makes this a particularly serious matter. We've already frozen what remains in the relocation account, Richard added. And we're preparing to work with law enforcement on recovering the stolen funds. Melissa looked at us sympathetically. In the meantime, we need to address your immediate situation. You were scheduled to start in San Francisco next week. Gerald intervened. We'll extend your start date by 2 weeks, Rebecca. And we'll arrange temporary housing in San Francisco while this is being resolved. The company will front additional relocation funds, which will be reconciled once the stolen money is recovered. The relief that washed over me was profound. I had been worried not only about the theft, but about potentially losing the position I had worked so hard to attain. Thank you, I said sincerely. We appreciate the company's support during this difficult time. Tom, who had been quiet until then, spoke up. What exactly happens next? My mother has never faced consequences for her actions before. I'm concerned she'll find a way to avoid responsibility. Richard leaned forward. Mr. Mitchell, Horizon Global maintains a specialized financial investigation team precisely for situations involving misappropriation of company funds. They work alongside law enforcement, but can move more quickly in some respects. They'll be contacting your mother today to begin their investigation. She'll deny everything, Tom said. She already tried to claim Rebecca was lying. That's why the recording is so valuable, Barbara explained. And wire transfers leave a clear trail. If she used the money to purchase property, as she claimed, that creates additional documentation we can access through legal channels. We left the meeting with a plan in place. The company would handle the legal and investigative aspects while providing us with emergency funds to proceed with our move. The police had been notified and were coordinating with the company's team. Our immediate future was secure, even if the situation remained deeply painful. As we drove home, Tom's phone rang through the car speakers. Diana's name appeared on the display. Should I answer it? He asked, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. It's your decision, I replied softly. He took a deep breath and accepted the call. Yes, Mom. Thomas, what is going on? 2 police officers just came to the house asking questions about money transfers. They mentioned fraud. I told them there must be some mistake. It's not a mistake, Mom. You took our relocation money. You admitted it to Rebecca yesterday. That was a private conversation. She had no right to record me or share that with anyone. I'm your mother, Thomas. Are you really going to let your wife turn you against me like this? Tom's voice remained steady, though I could see the emotional toll this was taking. You stole $650,000 from us, Mom. Money that was meant for our future. You betrayed my trust in the worst possible way. Don't be so dramatic. I was trying to protect you from making a terrible mistake. California? Really, Thomas? Everything you need is right here. Your family, your roots. My wife is my family now, Mom. And you've put our lives in chaos. Diana's voice turned cold. So that's how it is? You choose her over your own mother and sister? After everything I've done for you. This isn't about choosing sides. This is about you committing a crime against us. A crime? It's a family matter. Keep the police out of this. It's too late for that. The company is involved now too. The money you took belonged to Horizon Global, not just to us. There was a long silence before Diana spoke again, her voice now trembling slightly. What exactly is going to happen? I don't know, Tom answered honestly, but you need to return the money immediately. All of it. I can't. The house has already been purchased. The money is gone. The call ended shortly after with nothing resolved. As we pulled into our driveway, another call came through, this time from Stephanie. What have you done? She demanded without preamble. Mom is absolutely distraught. Stephanie, Tom began patiently. Mom stole $650,000 from us. Money that was meant for our relocation to San Francisco. She said it was a gift. That you wanted me to have the beach house. Did that make sense to you? That we would give you a beach house instead of using the money to relocate for Rebecca's promotion. Stephanie hesitated. Well, I thought maybe you felt guilty about moving so far away. And you didn't think to call and thank us directly? To confirm this extremely generous gift. Mom said, she said you were busy with moving preparations and that she was handling it for you. Stephanie's voice had lost some of its certainty. She lied, Steph. She stole the money and lied to you about where it came from. I don't believe you, Stephanie replied, but her conviction sounded shaken. Later that evening, the doorbell rang. Two professionally dressed individuals stood on our porch, a man and a woman. Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell? I'm Alicia Ramirez, and this is my colleague Marcus Wong. We're from Horizon Global's financial investigation team. May we come in? Over the next 2 hours, they took detailed statements, reviewed the recorded conversation, and explained the process they would be following. We've already traced the wire transfer through several accounts, Marcus explained. The money was moved from your relocation account to a temporary account, then split into 3 separate transfers before being consolidated again for the property purchase. That sounds complicated, I observed. Alicia nodded. It suggests premeditation and an attempt to obscure the trail, not the actions of someone making an impulsive mistake. Will you be able to recover the money? Tom asked. The funds used to purchase real estate are easier to recover than if they had been spent on consumables or transferred overseas, Alicia explained. We'll be working with law enforcement to freeze the asset while the investigation proceeds. As they prepared to leave, Marcus turned to us. We'll be visiting your mother-in-law tomorrow morning to formally interview her. Based on the evidence we've gathered, this will likely lead to criminal charges unless she agrees to immediate restitution. She claims the money can't be returned because the house has been purchased, Tom said. Marcus and Alicia exchanged glances. The property can be liquidated or ownership transferred, Alicia explained. There are options, but they all start with your mother-in-law acknowledging what she's done. After they left, Tom and I sat in silence for a long moment. Our home was half-packed, our lives in limbo, and the family Tom had grown up with was imploding. I never thought it would come to this, Tom finally said. I knew my mother could be difficult, controlling even, but theft? Deliberately sabotaging our future? I just can't comprehend it. I took his hand. People can convince themselves of almost anything if they believe they're justified. In her mind, she was probably protecting you from me, from California, from change. That doesn't excuse what she did. No, I agreed. It doesn't. Tom's phone buzzed with a text from his father. Son, what's happening? Your mother is hysterical. Something about the beach house and the police. Tom showed me the message. He probably has no idea what she's done. You should call him, I suggested. He deserves to know the truth. Tom nodded and stepped onto the back porch to make the call. Through the window, I could see his animated gestures, the slump of his shoulders, the moment he pressed his hand to his forehead in obvious distress. When he returned, his eyes were red. Dad didn't know anything about it, he said quietly. Mom told him the beach house was being purchased with money from her inheritance from Grandma Patterson. He's devastated. That night, we pushed 2 unpacked boxes off our bed and tried to sleep, both of us staring at the ceiling, wondering what the next day would bring. The following morning, Alicia called to inform us that the investigation team would be visiting Diana at 11 a.m. She invited us to be present if we wished. Is that a good idea? I asked Tom. Won't it make things more confrontational? Tom considered this. Maybe, but I want to be there. I need to see her face when she can't deny it anymore. We arrived at Diana and Martin's Evanston home at 10:55 a.m. Martin answered the door, looking 10 years older than he had just days before. Tom. Rebecca. He embraced his son tightly. I'm so sorry about all of this. I had no idea. We entered the living room to find Diana perched tensely on the edge of the sofa. To my surprise, Stephanie was there as well, sitting in an armchair, her expression unreadable. What are they doing here? Diana demanded when she saw us. Martin, why did you let them in? Their family, Diana, Martin replied wearily. And we need to deal with this situation together. Before Diana could respond, the doorbell rang again. Martin returned with Alicia, Marcus, and 2 uniformed police officers. Diana's face paled. This is ridiculous. You're treating me like a criminal in my own home. Mrs. Patterson, Alicia began formally. We're here to discuss the unauthorized transfer of $648,721.57 from the Horizon Global Relocation account assigned to Rebecca and Thomas Mitchell. I don't know anything about that, Diana insisted, though her voice lacked conviction. Marcus opened his laptop. We have traced the wire transfer from the relocation account to a temporary account opened in your name at First Midwest Bank 3 days ago. From there, the money was divided into 3 separate transfers to different accounts, also in your name, before being consolidated again for a real estate purchase. All accounts were opened within the past week, all feature your signature on the documentation, and all required your driver's license as identification. Diana's composure began to crack. You have no right to look into my private banking information. We have a warrant, Mrs. Patterson, one of the police officers stated, producing the document. Based on the evidence of funds theft. Stephanie looked confused. Mom, what are they talking about? You said the beach house money came from you and Dad. It did, in a way, Diana said quickly. It's all a misunderstanding. Alicia turned to her laptop. Perhaps this will clarify things. She played the recording of Diana's call to me, her voice filling the room. I used your $650,000 relocation bonus to buy my daughter a beach house. You don't deserve it. Stephanie's eyes widened. Mom? Is that true? Did you steal Tom and Rebecca's money? I was protecting our family. Diana exclaimed. They were abandoning us for California. That money should have stayed in the family. It was meant for their relocation, Martin said quietly. For their future. A future away from us. Diana's voice rose. She's been taking him away piece by piece for years, and this was the final step. I couldn't let that happen. The room fell silent as Diana's justification hung in the air. Even she seemed to realize how it sounded. Marcus cleared his throat. Mrs. Patterson, the evidence clearly establishes that you accessed the Mitchell's relocation account without authorization and transferred company funds for personal use. This constitutes both theft and wire fraud. How did you even get access to our account? Tom asked, his voice strained. Diana looked away. I may have used Rebecca's laptop when I was helping you pack. The pieces clicked into place. Diana had helped us pack the home office 2 weeks ago, insisting she would organize all the papers while I packed the kitchen. She must have accessed my computer while I was busy elsewhere. You went through my computer? I asked, horrified. I was trying to protect my son. Diana repeated. Stephanie stood suddenly. The beach house isn't a gift at all, is it? It's stolen property. Her voice trembled. Do you know how humiliating this is? You told me it was a gift from Tom and Rebecca. I've been texting them thank you messages, planning a housewarming party. Stephanie, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, Stephanie interrupted. You stole from Tom and lied to me. You've made me an accomplice in your theft. Diana's facade finally crumbled. I was trying to keep our family together. She's taking him to California. Don't you see what she's done? She's turned him against us. Mom, I chose to go to California, Tom said firmly. This was our decision, not just Rebecca's. And nothing justified what you did. Alicia intervened. Mrs. Patterson, we need to discuss how you intend to make restitution. The company is prepared to pursue criminal charges, but if the funds are returned immediately, there may be room for negotiation. I told you, I can't return the money. It's gone. The beach house is purchased. Then the beach house will need to be sold or ownership transferred to the company until other arrangements can be made, Marcus stated. No. Diana looked wildly around the room. Martin, do something. Martin shook his head slowly. There's nothing to do, Diana, except make this right. You took their money. It needs to be returned. Stephanie stood up. The beach house should go to Tom and Rebecca. It was purchased with their money. Stephanie, how can you take their side? Diana looked betrayed. I'm not taking sides, Mom. I'm acknowledging reality. Stephanie turned to Tom. I had no idea where the money really came from. I swear. Tom nodded. I believe you, Steph. Diana, seeing her family united against her, finally broke down. Fine. Take the beach house. Take everything. I was only trying to protect my family, but none of you can see that. One of the police officers stepped forward. Mrs. Patterson, we need you to come to the station to make a formal statement. Diana looked stunned. You're arresting me? Not at this time, but we do require a statement. As Diana was escorted out, she turned back to Tom. After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? By choosing her over your own mother. Tom met her gaze steadily. You made the choice, Mom, when you decided to steal from us. I'm just dealing with the consequences. After Diana left with the officers, Martin collapsed onto the sofa, his head in his hands. I had no idea she would do something like this. No idea. Stephanie sat beside her father, placing a hand on his shoulder. None of us did, Dad. Alicia and Marcus explained that the property would be temporarily frozen while the legal details were worked out. We'll be in touch soon with next steps, Alicia assured us. As we prepared to leave, Stephanie pulled me aside. Rebecca, I'm so sorry. I should have questioned it when Mom said the beach house was from you and Tom. It didn't make sense, but I wanted to believe it. It's not your fault, I told her. Diana manipulated everyone. Stephanie nodded. I think I'm starting to see that. On the drive home, Tom was silent for a long time before finally speaking. I keep thinking about all the signs I ignored over the years. The controlling behavior, the manipulation, the way she undermined you at every turn. I told myself she meant well, that it was just her way of showing she cared. But this shows who she really is. I reached for his hand. People are complicated, Tom. Diana loves you in her way. She just doesn't know how to love without controlling. That's not love, he said firmly. and I won't let her hurt us again. The days following Diana's confrontation were a blur of legal meetings and logistical challenges. The company's legal team filed formal charges against Diana for theft and wire fraud, while simultaneously working to recover the stolen funds. Diana hired a prominent defense attorney who immediately began negotiating with the prosecutors. The evidence against her was overwhelming: the bank transfers with her signature, the recorded confession, her access to my computer, and even security footage from the banks where she'd opened the accounts. Meanwhile, we proceeded with our move to San Francisco, thanks to emergency funds provided by Horizon Global. The company had secured temporary housing for us in a corporate apartment while the situation was resolved. My start date was pushed back by 2 weeks, giving us time to settle and deal with the ongoing legal issues. Tom transferred to the Oakland office of his architectural firm, which welcomed him warmly. On the surface, we were proceeding with our plans, but the emotional toll was evident. Tom had trouble sleeping, often waking in the middle of the night to pace our temporary apartment. I would find him staring out at the San Francisco skyline, lost in thought. "I keep thinking about what would have happened if you hadn't recorded that call," he confessed one night. "She would have denied everything, made you look paranoid or vindictive. I might have even believed her." I wrapped my arms around him from behind. "But you didn't. You stood with me." "I'll always stand with you," he promised. No matter what. Back in Chicago, the family was in turmoil. Martin called Tom almost daily, sounding increasingly tired and stressed. "Your mother is facing serious charges," he explained during one call. "The prosecutor is talking about possible jail time. Her attorney is pushing for a plea deal, but she's still in denial about the seriousness of what she did." "What about the beach house?" Tom asked. "Stephanie has signed papers to transfer ownership to you and Rebecca. She wants no part of it, says she could never enjoy it knowing where the money came from." This surprised both of us. Stephanie had always followed Diana's lead, rarely showing such independence. "And how is Stephanie handling all this?" I asked when Tom put the call on speaker. Martin sighed. "She's moved out, got an apartment with a friend from work. Says she needs space from her mother. It's been difficult. Diana feels everyone has abandoned her. She abandoned us first, Dad, when she chose to steal our future," Tom pointed out. "I know, son. I know." We learned that extended family members were taking sides in the conflict. Diana's sisters rallied to her defense, claiming we were overreacting to a family misunderstanding. Martin's brother, on the other hand, was firmly in our corner, having witnessed Diana's controlling behavior for years. The company arranged for us to see a counselor, recognizing the trauma of both the theft and the family betrayal. Dr. Lena Fisher specialized in family estrangement and betrayal trauma. "What you're experiencing is a profound breach of trust," she explained during our first session. "Tom, you're grieving the mother you thought you had, while simultaneously trying to process her betrayal. Rebecca, you're dealing with the vindication of your concerns about Diana after years of having them dismissed. These are complex emotional responses that will take time to work through." The sessions helped, providing a safe space to process our feelings and develop strategies for moving forward. Tom particularly struggled with guilt, wondering if he could have prevented the situation by setting firmer boundaries with his mother earlier. "You can't take responsibility for her actions," Dr. Fisher reminded him. Diana made her choices. 3 weeks after the confrontation, Diana's case moved toward resolution. Her attorney negotiated a plea deal. She would plead guilty to theft, make full restitution, serve 2 years of probation, and complete 500 hours of community service. In exchange, the more serious wire fraud charges would be dropped, allowing her to avoid jail time. The judge was not lenient during the plea hearing, which we attended via video conference. "Mrs. Patterson, the court recognizes your lack of prior criminal record and your agreement to make restitution," the judge stated firmly. However, I want to be clear that your actions constituted a serious breach of trust against your own family. This was not a momentary lapse in judgment, but a calculated series of actions intended to deprive your son and daughter-in-law of their future. The court views this betrayal of family ties as particularly troubling. Diana stood with downcast eyes as the judge continued. In addition to the terms of the plea agreement, this court orders you to undergo psychological evaluation and comply with any recommended treatment. You are also prohibited from contacting the victims except through your attorney until such time as they indicate a willingness to resume communication. The beach house was officially transferred to our names, though neither of us felt any joy in the acquisition. We listed it for sale immediately, intending to use the proceeds to repay the company and finally complete our intended relocation plans. Stephanie reached out to us independently after the hearing. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she told us over a video call. About Mom, about how she's influenced my life and relationships. I never realized how much I was living in her shadow, accepting her view of everything. Including you, Rebecca. What do you mean? I asked. Mom always painted you as this career-obsessed woman who didn't really care about family. Who was taking Tom away. And I believed her without ever really getting to know you myself. She looked genuinely remorseful. I'm sorry for that. It's not entirely your fault, I offered. Diana is persuasive. She's manipulative, Stephanie corrected, surprising me with her candor. And I'm just starting to understand how much she's manipulated all of us. Tom maintained limited contact with his mother, speaking to her only through her attorney initially. Diana sent a formal letter of apology as part of her plea agreement, but it rang hollow, focusing more on her intentions than the harm she had caused. I only wanted to protect our family unit, she wrote. I hope someday you'll understand that my actions, while perhaps misguided, came from a mother's love. Tom showed me the letter, then crumpled it and threw it away. That's not an apology. That's justification. Martin, meanwhile, seemed to be reassessing his own role in enabling Diana's behavior over the years. He visited us in San Francisco 2 months after our move, staying in a nearby hotel. Over dinner at our new home, purchased with the proceeds from selling both our Chicago property and the beach house, he appeared more relaxed than I had ever seen him. I enabled her, he admitted after a glass of wine. All these years, I looked the other way, made excuses, kept the peace at any cost. I should have set boundaries long ago. Maybe then it wouldn't have come to this. You can't blame yourself, Dad, Tom said. I don't entirely. Diana is responsible for her own actions, but I'm responsible for mine, and I should have done more to protect you both. He looked directly at me. Especially you, Rebecca. I saw how she treated you, and I said nothing. I'm sorry for that. What happens now? I asked. With you and Diana? Martin sighed. I don't know. We're in counseling, both together and separately. Diana's therapist has suggested she may have narcissistic personality traits that have gone unaddressed her whole life. It explains a lot, but it doesn't excuse anything. He looked out at the San Francisco view from our dining room. I love her, but I don't like who she's become. Or maybe who she's always been. By the 6-month mark, Diana had completed a quarter of her community service hours, working at a women's shelter. According to Martin, the experience was humbling for her, exposing her to women who had genuine problems far beyond her own. The beach house sold for slightly more than had been paid for it, allowing us to fully reimburse the company and finally settle into our new life. I thrived in my new position, leading a successful rebranding campaign that earned recognition throughout the industry. Tom's architectural work in Oakland connected him with innovative firms doing sustainable design, a passion he had long wanted to pursue. Stephanie visited for a week in the spring, her first trip to California. Without Diana's influence, she was different, more relaxed, funnier, and genuinely interested in getting to know me. We took her to wine country, hiked in Muirwoods, and spent evenings on our deck overlooking the city. By the time she left, Something new had formed between us. Not quite friendship yet, but the potential for it. I actually like her, I told Tom after dropping her at the airport. Who knew? He smiled. I always thought you two might get along if Mom wasn't in the middle. Diana remained the unresolved question in our lives. Her therapist had suggested a mediated family session, but Tom wasn't ready. Maybe someday, he told me. But not yet. The wound is still too fresh. I understood. Some betrayals cut too deep for quick forgiveness. Trust, once shattered, could take years to rebuild, if it ever fully did. 6 months turned into a year, and gradually our new life in San Francisco eclipsed the trauma that had preceded it. The beautiful Edwardian in No Valley truly became our home, filled with new furniture, new memories, and none of the shadows from our past. My role as marketing director exceeded all expectations. I led a team of talented creatives who responded well to my collaborative leadership style. Our campaigns increased market share by 22% in the first year, earning recognition from industry publications and competitors alike. The CEO personally commended me during the annual shareholders meeting, citing our division's innovative approach. Tom flourished at the Oakland firm, which specialized in sustainable commercial architecture. His designs for a zero-carbon office building earned an architectural award and led to a promotion to senior designer. He came home energized, eager to share ideas and sketches, a passion I hadn't seen in him during his final years in Chicago. The company implemented new security protocols for relocation funds based on our experience, creating a multi-factor authentication system that required biometric verification for large transfers. They asked me to share our story during new employee orientation as a cautionary tale about cybersecurity, though I kept the personal details vague out of respect for Tom. Tom established clear boundaries with his mother. They spoke monthly by phone, conversations that remained civil but distant. Diana had completed her community service hours and continued therapy, which Martin reported was making a difference, though slowly. She's beginning to understand the damage she caused, he told Tom during one of their weekly calls. The therapist says narcissistic patterns are deeply ingrained and take time to unlearn, but she's trying. Stephanie had fully emerged from her mother's shadow. She left the boutique job, completed a digital marketing certification, and secured a position with a Chicago agency. We exchanged regular texts and occasional video calls, sharing professional advice and gradually building the relationship that Diana had previously prevented. Diana's first attempt at a genuine apology came 13 months after the incident. Not through a court-mandated letter, but in a handwritten note sent directly to our home. I've been working with my therapist to understand why I did what I did, she wrote. The truth is painful to acknowledge. I was terrified of losing control over Tom, over our family unit. Each step he took toward independence felt like rejection to me, and I couldn't separate my needs from his happiness. What I did was unforgivable, and I don't expect forgiveness. I only want you both to know that I am truly sorry for the pain I caused. I recognize now that my actions were about my fears and insecurities, not about protecting Tom as I claimed. Tom read the letter several times before carefully folding it and placing it in his desk drawer. It's a start, he said simply. That spring, Martin suggested a small family gathering at a neutral location, a restaurant in Napa Valley, halfway between San Francisco and the airport where he and Diana would fly in for a weekend. Tom was hesitant, but ultimately agreed. We don't have to forgive her, I reminded him. We're just having dinner. The meeting was awkward, but civil. Diana looked older, the stress of the past year evident in new lines around her eyes and mouth. She made no excuses, no justifications for her actions, which itself represented growth. Your home looks lovely, she said, after we showed her photos. The light in that living room is beautiful. Thank you, I replied, the simple exchange feeling like a milestone. We established a new normal. Holiday calls, occasional visits with Martin acting as buffer, gradual steps toward a relationship built on healthier foundations. Trust would take much longer if it ever fully returned, but the acute pain of betrayal slowly dulled into a manageable ache. One unexpected outcome of the experience was my involvement with a women's professional network that supported females facing family challenges during career advancements. Many women, it turned out, encountered resistance from family when pursuing opportunities that required relocation or significant change. None had experienced theft, thankfully, but the underlying issues of control, guilt, and sabotage were common. My mother-in-law called my boss to tell him I was pregnant before I was ready to disclose it, one woman shared during a meeting. She thought it would make them reconsider my promotion. My parents refused to speak to me for months after I moved across the country for a VP position, another confessed. They said I was abandoning them in their old age. I was 32 and they were in their 50s. These stories reinforced what our experience had taught us, that family dynamics can be complex obstacles to professional growth, particularly for women. I found purpose in mentoring others through these challenges, sharing strategies for establishing boundaries while maintaining relationships where possible. Tom's relationship with his father strengthened considerably during this period. Without Diana controlling their interactions, they discovered shared interests and perspectives. Martin visited quarterly, sometimes without Diana, enjoying long conversations with Tom about everything from architecture to philosophy. I feel like I'm getting to know my father for the first time, Tom remarked after one such visit. All those years, Mom was always there, directing every conversation, controlling how we interacted. As our second anniversary in San Francisco approached, we faced a new question. Were we ready to start a family of our own? The trauma of Diana's betrayal had put those discussions on hold, but now, with our careers established and our lives settled, the possibility reemerged. What if I turn into my mother? Tom asked one night as we discussed the idea. What if those controlling tendencies are in my DNA? You're nothing like her, I assured him. You've never tried to control me or anyone else. Besides, the fact that you're even asking the question shows you're self-aware in a way Diana never was. We decided to try, committing to conscious parenting that would break any unhealthy patterns from our families of origin. We would create our own traditions, our own boundaries, our own definition of family. The final piece of healing came unexpectedly during a visit from Stephanie. Sitting on our deck, watching the sunset over the city, she turned to us with sudden emotion. I need to apologize properly, she said. Not just for believing Mom about the beach house, but for years of following her lead in how I treated you, Rebecca. I was jealous of you, of the life you and Tom built, of your career success. Mom encouraged that jealousy, fed it, used it to keep me on her side. I'm ashamed of who I was then. The sincerity in her voice brought tears to my eyes. Thank you for saying that, Stephanie. It means a lot. I've realized something important this past year, she continued. Mom's need for control wasn't protection, it was about possession. She treated us like extensions of herself, not as independent people with our own needs and dreams. She looked out at the darkening sky. I don't want to live that way anymore. That night, lying beside Tom in bed, I reflected on how far we had come from that terrible day when we discovered the missing money. The theft had nearly destroyed our plans, our family relationships, and our sense of security. Yet somehow, through the pain, something valuable had emerged: truth, boundaries, and authentic connections free from manipulation and control. I never would have chosen this path, I whispered to Tom in the darkness. But I'm proud of how we've walked it. He pulled me closer. Me too. The journey had taught us that sometimes the most painful betrayals can lead to the most necessary growth. Diana's actions had forced issues into the light that might otherwise have festered in darkness for decades. The family that emerged from this crucible was changed forever, but perhaps ultimately healthier for having faced the truth. Looking back, I realized that the moment I responded to Diana's shocking confession with calm acceptance, thanks for letting me know, I had already begun reclaiming my power. Not through anger or immediate confrontation, but through the quiet strength of someone who knows their worth cannot be diminished by another's actions. That worth, that inner strength, is something no one can steal, not even with $650,000. What would you do if a family member betrayed your trust in such a profound way? Would you try to rebuild the relationship, or would you establish permanent boundaries? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories about navigating complex family dynamics. Thank you for listening, and remember that sometimes the most painful experiences lead to the most meaningful growth.